Alright, so a couple of days ago on my channel, I made a video talking about all of the leaked photos of the upcoming $1,000 LEGO Star Wars UCS Death Star. And the points that I was trying to make and the intention behind what I was trying to say with that video certainly didn't land with a lot of you guys, and I knew in the comments that it was going to get hot and very heated because it's a $1,000 Death Star that's a diorama. It's not a full sphere. Ever since that rumor came out, the community has been very on edge, to say the least, about this set that LEGO is making. But what I didn't expect in the comments to be getting were comments that I'd sold out at 3,700 subscribers, that I was on LEGO's payroll, which I literally laughed out loud at, because in what universe is someone with my small of a channel getting paid by LEGO? That just made zero sense at all. But I'm very thankful for all 3,700 of you and counting who are part of Obi-Wan Studios. It's extremely special, and I do really appreciate all the support, but that's besides the point. Comments that I was shilling, things like that. And I thought that was kind of odd because I never actually in the video said that I supported the price point for $1,000. To the quite contrary, I literally had said that due to the fact that the minifigs like the Imperial officers, for example, don't get dual molded legs, I don't think LEGO deserves your money because of that fact alone. The build and everything else aside, just for $1,000, it's inexcusable not to get dual molded legs in a set like this. So for that reason alone, I don't think you should give LEGO the full retail price for the set, no matter what they charge. But at this high of a level, it's just completely inexcusable, in my opinion. But then people still somehow said I was defending the price. It was a little weird. So I wanted to make a video kind of clarifying where I stand on the Death Star, because I do really care about the LEGO Star Wars community. And as a very new content creator who's got, 3,700 and counting of you following, I want to make sure you guys know kind of where I stand on the set and my full thoughts, and to make sure that you guys don't think I'm selling out to LEGO, or that I've secretly joined like the ambassador program maybe or something like that, and now I'm trying to suck up to LEGO, because that's certainly not the case. Go watch the video that I posted, I guess today, the day I'm making this video, of the 327th Star Corps Clone Trooper Battle Pack. I tore that thing to shreds over the price point. I think it's pretty clear that I'm going to be very critical of LEGO when it is deserved, and when they frequently do drop the ball, I'm definitely going to call them out on it. So the ambassador program is not really something I'm interested in. Maybe one day when faith is restored in LEGO and they've done a lot of right by the community, maybe then, if that opportunity ever arises, maybe. But at this point, I have absolutely zero interest in anything like that. So I wanted to give you guys my full thoughts and kind of clear the air a little bit, make sure everyone knows where I stand, and just address some of the comments I was getting head on, because where's the fun in just kind of, not saying anything, right? So I appreciate you guys for watching, and I want to dive just right on into it with what we are getting. When I first heard that the Death Star was not going to be a full spherical Death Star that had rooms inside of it, like panels you could access and things like that, naturally, I, like everyone, had to shift their expectations, or should have really shifted your expectations at that point for what you were getting. So then it went to, all right, I still want to take on this with a positive light and hope that LEGO can somehow make a really great, insane diorama for a Death Star. And then in seeing the leaked photos of it, I thought, well, it actually looks pretty good. For a diorama, I expected it to honestly look a lot worse than it did, and taking it at just what we see on the front of the box, I genuinely, and I still do think, for what the concept and the idea for the set is, price point completely aside at the moment here, I do think it is really cool. I think they were able to do a good job in what a circular diorama of the Death Star is. The rooms that they created, the amount of detail that is in there, I do genuinely think they did overall a pretty good job, but that could change when I get the set in hand. That's what reviews are for. My channel's primarily for reviews. I usually save a lot of that for, okay, I'll give some thoughts on it, my kind of rough opinion just based on what I see, and then when I actually get it in hand, you'll get my full, unfiltered opinion on everything. And there were some comments down below in that video too, where people were saying there's a lot of empty rooms and things like that. And just in looking at this leaked image again, maybe it's because of the elevator shaft. There's kind of like a section that runs like up and down the entire Death Star that is a little empty, but it is for an elevator. But otherwise, I mean, the trash compactor you can't really squeeze a lot more in it. The hangar, there's not a lot more room to squeeze anything more in it. The conference room, sure, it has some empty chairs. You could have asked for a couple more Imperial officers, dignitaries to fill that spot up. Definitely, I can see the points there. The actual Death Star laser cannon control section looks pretty full to me. The entire section with the detention block, I think, looks really great as well. And there's even the ability to have Princess Leia actually in her cell that's, lowered like it is in A New Hope. That looks great. The hallway where Han is being chased by the stormtroopers. I don't think there is really that much actual empty space within this diorama without making it look absolutely too crowded. Now, with that being said, could it be fuller in some instances? I definitely do see that. Adding more stormtroopers, for example, would make the Death Star seem fuller. Getting only 6 in this set is, I think, too low. I definitely think LEGO needed to add 10 at least in order for it to be kind of that $1,000, what they're trying to do with it, if that makes sense. I'm certainly not justifying there only being 6 by any means. I definitely think LEGO needed to include more, but I will definitely stand by what I had said. For what the set is with the diorama, the actual laser cannon on the exterior looks fantastic. I do really think LEGO did a great job with what the concept for the set is, and then that end product. I do think the job was done really well. The one thing, though, that has changed that was pointed out in the comments is that Darth Vader's meditation chamber, you only in the movies see it in The Empire Strikes Back on the Executor. You don't see it in the Death Star. So that, to me, was a really safe addition. And I personally just don't buy into that you would assume that there is one on the Death Star when anywhere online that I've been able to find doesn't actually officially canonically say that there is a meditation chamber on the Death Star. Yes, there probably is one, but one thing that would have been way cooler that was also pointed out in the comments that I thought would have been so sweet was if you have Princess Leia, Grand Moff Tarkin, and then a sticker, as it would just naturally be a sticker. They're not going to print it. That's just the reality that we face. A sticker of Alderaan being blown up. However that looks, where it's the planet and then the green laser, just, it's a frame of it about to be blown up, or the explosion. Something like that instead of the meditation chamber would have been unreal. I think that would have been so cool, because that's really, when you watch A New Hope, that's when you see the power of the Death Star and actually how grave the situation is that the rebels are up against, a planet-destroying space station. That's a pretty powerful moment from A New Hope, and that would have been so cool to have been able to have that as part of the diorama. So that, to me, is a very huge missed opportunity, and I think for a set like this, they could have just found something that would have been better, to be honest. That scene would have been way better than the meditation chamber. But otherwise, for what you were getting in terms of the concept, again, concept alone, we're not talking about the price point yet, I think LEGO did do a pretty good job, and I genuinely do like it as a diorama of the Death Star more than I thought I was going to. And I think there are a lot of people out there who do share that opinion, but it's completely clouded by that price point because it's the first $1,000 LEGO Star Wars set. I feel like right away, no matter what you get, I feel like people are just naturally not going to be happy. And again, this isn't justifying the price point at all. It's just the topic and debate and discussion of it just naturally being a $1,000 set. People are going to demand, a lot, and rightfully so. You should. But with this Death Star, there are a couple of things that I want to bring up now about just the thought process of why in that video I didn't seem that fazed by the price point for what we are getting, because I don't think you really should be shocked that LEGO is charging $1,000 for this set. I don't think it's anything out of the normal, not a surprise at all, and a lot of people seem to be surprised by it. And I don't totally get it, because history would dictate that this is something that LEGO would very easily charge $1,000 for, especially within the theme of Star Wars. There were people who had said that, okay, you look at the Titanic, the Eiffel Tower, the price per piece ratios on those sets. You can't take those as an example of what LEGO should do for the Death Star. It doesn't work that way. Star Wars as a theme in LEGO has always been a premium charged price point with LEGO. We get treated as LEGO Star Wars fans just differently from every other theme, from Marvel, from Harry Potter, from, the Titanic sets and things like that. We pay a premium to be fans and to collect LEGO Star Wars sets and to be consumers of this theme within LEGO. There's always that premium price. So that's a whole nother issue on its own between the entire theme of Star Wars. It's not just with the Death Star. Because if you look at sets like the Millennium Falcon, Mos Eisley Cantina, the price per piece ratios of those sets compared to something like the Titanic, it's the same debate. And I do want to dive into things just a little bit further in terms of other sets from other themes that LEGO makes compared to then just the context of within Star Wars, because I think there's a certain way you really have to kind of look at things in order to have the proper expectations of what LEGO is going to charge for sets, and why I personally believe you can't really just use in a one-off example the Eiffel Tower and the Titanic to say whether or not the Death Star is good value. You have to blanket that to Star Wars as a whole, instead of just one set, because like I've said, it is a greater issue than just the Death Star. So the Eiffel Tower, it's brilliant. It's a set I really want. I've been to Paris like a decade ago. I absolutely loved the city, and it's a set that I do really want to add before it retires, just because I do genuinely love the city. I thought it was beautiful and amazing. It comes with 10,001 pieces, has a retail price of $630, so the price per piece is about 6.3 cents. If you're below that 10-cent kind of price per piece number, like everyone who says and really uses price per piece as a good metric of value, if you're below 10 cents per piece, you're doing really good. So this set definitely, by that metric alone, is very good value. When we move over to the Titanic, it comes with 9,090 pieces, has a retail price of $680, so the price per piece is 7.5. Again, below that 10 cents per piece. By that metric alone, it's good value. But now let's take a look at some sets with LEGO Star Wars, and to see what, based on the history of just within the Star Wars theme, LEGO has charged for these massive Ultimate Collector Series sets. Taking a look at the Millennium Falcon, we have this set here. It comes with 7,541 pieces, has a retail price of $850. Its price per piece is 11.3 cents, above that 10 cents per piece price count, but I wouldn't say the Millennium Falcon is absurdly overpriced. I would say, you're getting a perfect Millennium Falcon build. I've never owned it, so I don't really want to necessarily flat out say whether or not I think it's overpriced or not, because I haven't experienced the set personally. But that's just one set there that you can see what LEGO has at least historically charged for and given the price per piece. So for a larger set like the Millennium Falcon, that's what you can expect with 7,500 pieces. Moving on to the UCS AT-AT, a set that I absolutely adore. Besides it being not the most stable, it is certainly fragile. Again, a bit expensive for what you're getting, I think, based on owning that set, but historically, the AT-AT has 6,785 pieces, had a retail price of $850 for a price per piece of 12.5 cents. Again, you're above that 10-cent price per piece count, but the AT-AT is going to go down in LEGO Star Wars history, and it is going down in LEGO Star Wars history as one of the greatest sets of all time, regardless of it being, not the best for the value. I said that in the review I made like 6 months ago on the channel, right when it retired. It's not the absolute best value for money, but the point of this is just to look historically at what LEGO has charged for sets like this. But then when we look at the UCS Death Star, it comes with 9,023 pieces and has a retail price of $1,000. That's a price per piece of 11 cents per piece, right on the nose. So by price per piece as an indicator, it's actually better value than the UCS AT-AT was and the current Millennium Falcon. And I get why that definitely is not translating, because of what you actually get for your money. You feel like there is more value in the AT-AT and in the Millennium Falcon. And I personally think when I get the set in hand, I will probably feel the same way. But the price that LEGO is charging for the set is certainly not surprising. Historically, it's kind of right in line with, I think, what you should expect given the piece count and what this actually is. Again, I'm not justifying it. I'm making sure I'm clarifying this a lot, because a lot of people felt like I was really justifying it and, like I said, selling out for it. That's not what I'm doing. I'm just trying to add to the discussion and the logic that I've been using to kind of the point of as to where it just doesn't surprise me. I look at this and they say $1,000. I'm like, yeah, I believe it. I get historically why LEGO would charge something like this for this set. And just for pure example's sake, I want to take a look at two other sets for the price per piece and just what LEGO has charged for what you are getting. The last Master Builder series set that we had, the Mos Eisley Cantina set, I'm looking at the box right down there I bought it before it retired, but I've never built it. But this is kind of, I think, at least Master Builder Series is what this Death Star truly is. It's not UCS, it's Master Builder Series. Let's be honest, that's kind of what this set is. But this set comes with 3,187 pieces, has a retail price of $400, giving a price per piece of 12.6. Again, the Death Star, by that factor alone, is better value than the Mos Eisley Cantina was. And then maybe a curveball, but the Trash Compactor Diorama. But the Trash Compactor Diorama comes with 802 pieces, had a retail price of $90 for 11.2 cents per piece. Technically speaking, the Death Star is a little bit better, but right kind of on the money for what the Trash Compactor is. And yes, is that a bit much for the Trash Compactor? Probably, right? Again, I've never owned this set, but I definitely would say that $90 can feel like a little bit more expensive. And even the Emperor's Throne Room Diorama, that set feels like a lot as well for what you're getting. I don't think the price point of that set was quite right either. That set was overpriced. But the point, again, I'm trying to make is just that historically speaking, we're kind of right in line with what you should expect for this Death Star in terms of the price. And that is why in that video, I was just kind of like, I didn't make a big deal about it because I feel like you shouldn't expect anything less. I think to expect LEGO to charge $500 for this Death Star, looking at it, telling you it's got 9,000 pieces, I think that is just super unrealistic, and you just aren't thinking correct in terms of historically with LEGO Star Wars what they are going to charge. There is no universe where a set like that is going to be anywhere near $500 or $600. It is just not going to happen. Now, is that necessarily right? No, I think that all themes should be treated fairly, and that Star Wars, it feels like, shouldn't be more expensive because of what it is. Whether or not that has to do with Disney or what, who knows? But that's just certainly the way it feels when you look at some of the sets that Marvel has, even for example, and that's Disney too. Not all of them are perfect, but a lot of the time it feels like those sets have better value, better care and attention to detail. The minifigs quality is better. But Marvel certainly has its moments, like the Black Panther bust I just thought was a terrible set in general. It was so ugly, so overpriced, it bombed. Same with the Hulkbuster. That thing I just did not like at all, and it was just terribly overpriced too, and it bombed as a result. So it's not always that way, but it definitely feels like LEGO Star Wars does get the short end of the stick, especially when it comes to the quality and then the just nature of the way the prices are. And the last point I want to make is something that Ryan actually said in his latest Ask M&R video, where he talked about the Death Star and the price point. And funny enough, watching this video earlier today, a lot of the things he said were right in line with what I had said in my initial video, actually. A lot of his takes, like he really likes the build overall, and he's not super surprised about the price point either. And it was funny kind of watching him say that. And he is the last person you consider of being, a shill for LEGO, selling out things like that. And to me, he's the LEGO Star Wars GOAT. He's my GOAT of LEGO Star Wars, very easily. Ryan's the best. I'd love to sit down and have a beer with him one day. That would be, I think, really awesome. But this was from the $1,000 LEGO Star Wars Death Star is Good, LEGO Star Wars Death Star Battle Pack, Ask M&R 365. And in that video, he was talking about the price point and expectations, and he was even saying how if you just treat it as different sections of the Death Star are all dioramas, you end up getting about $1,000 in retail price of what LEGO would charge. Like you take the Emperor's Throne Room on its own, some of the extra exterior could be used for, the foundation and everything, you just make that, kind of leap there. The Emperor's Throne Room on its own is a diorama, and it's, roughly going to be about the same size, maybe a little bit smaller, but just $100, let's just say $90 even, right? You start going into the actual tractor beam, the leap of faith, you do the detention block, you do, the trash compactor and the functionalities, you do the hangar, the actual Death Star laser cannon controls and things like that. When you start adding up these sections of the Death Star, you can quite easily get up to $800, $900, $1,000 in what LEGO would charge for all of those dioramas individually. So then even naturally, just based on that logic, it's again not surprising that LEGO would charge $1,000 for this set. And if you guys haven't watched this episode of Ask M&R and want to hear Ryan's take on the Death Star build and the price more than other videos as well, because he does address it quite a bit in this video too, I'll link in the description down below. Ryan, I generally feel like, is right on the money with a lot of the things he says and his takes. He's my LEGO Star Wars GOAT. I think he's, the one who's doing the most for the community and trying to really make LEGO Star Wars better and push for better. like I said, he's right on the money with a lot of things. So I wanted to just take a moment to make this video and actually talk to you guys and address some of the comments, because I do genuinely care about the LEGO Star Wars community a lot, and even the community that I have built with Obi-Wan Studios. It's grown bigger than I really did expect it to. And I love it, and I'm very passionate about making content about LEGO Star Wars. Star Wars, even as a whole, is something that I just really do love and hold close to my heart. It's something I am very passionate about, and that's what led me to re-picking up this hobby as an adult. Now, the last thing I haven't said that I do want to make sure I do address is, do I think this Death Star is actually worth $1,000? Because that is different from the expectations of what LEGO would charge for this set within LEGO Star Wars. I'm definitely not surprised at all, and even Ryan said in his video, you know, I'm kind of almost half surprised they didn't try and charge more. Like, he very much expected it to be $1,000 and was like, yeah, this makes sense as a $1,000 LEGO Star Wars set based on just what LEGO would charge. Again, that's different from saying that it is justified, the pricing, that it is good value, that you should go and buy it and pay that retail price. That's completely different. That's not what Ryan is saying either. So I'm trying to kind of restate some of his points, because it kind of sparked some things in mine and resemblance of what I had said, and then, like I said, kind of, you know, some of the comments in that previous video. But I personally don't think that this set is worth $1,000. I don't think so. I don't think you should run out and pay this day one. I think you should wait for a pretty hefty sale, and then at that point, if you've been on the fence or want to pick it up, because I do think it is a cool display piece. I really hope it fits in my IKEA Billy bookcases, because I think it will look really cool on display. But if you get it for like a 20% discount, then you're at $800. And at that point, I think it would be not that bad of a buy, to be totally honest. I think at that point, you know, you're getting something a bit more reasonable at like $800, even at $900, let's say. If the set just was $900 and that was the retail price that LEGO went with, I also think that the set just wouldn't be getting as much flack. But because it has that $1,000 price tag, there is the kind of expectations, and the fan base just is reacting differently to it being $1,000 versus it being $900 or even like $950. Let's just say it's $1,000 is new territory for LEGO Star Wars. So it's kind of interesting in that aspect. And like I've said, the minifigs, the officer is not getting dual molded legs. The only one that gets dual molded legs is the hot tub stormtrooper. That's inexcusable in my opinion. There is no way that even then on its own, like I've said, the set is not worth $1,000 just because of that fact alone, that LEGO couldn't be bothered to give you the dual molded legs for C-3PO in a set that costs $1,000. That's a slap in the face in my opinion. It's just absolutely ridiculous that they couldn't be bothered to do so. They produced that C-3PO already. They just need to produce more of it for the Death Star. And let's be honest, they're not going to sell as many Death Stars as they're going to sell like the buildable C-3PO, for example. It just makes no sense at all as to why they couldn't have added it in and just produced a little bit more than maybe they had planned. There's zero excuse for it in my opinion, and that there alone shows that the set is not good value for your money, because you're not getting the best out of the minifigs. You're not getting the right number of minifigs either. There needs to be more stormtroopers, more Imperial officers. More minifigs would provide better value for money than the 38 that you are getting. So clearly, I don't think the set is good value for $1,000. But I definitely don't think either that this is a $500 set. I think that that just is very unrealistic, and that would just be a huge departure from the history of LEGO Star Wars sets and their prices. So that's kind of where I stand at this point. I'll make my kind of final thoughts and everything when I make the review, and that's kind of where I want to really make the big, you know, indicator of what I feel like this Death Star is. How is that value in hand? How are the designs of all the diorama pieces? How's the design of the exterior? How's the stability? Like, just actually seeing the thing in person too, and how big it actually is. I feel like that's going to be interesting to actually, it's one thing to see an image of the set, but then to actually see it in person and how big the build actually is, you know? That might sway some people. I'm not sure if it's going to sway me, but it might sway some people into being like, okay, you can see it being, you know, I mean, keep using the $500-$600 price point as just like, you know, a thing. That might turn some people who think that into being like, okay, I can maybe see why LEGO Star Wars, at least within this theme, would charge that much for it. So I hope you guys get the points I was trying to make in this video and kind of the discussion I wanted to bring up, and just overall kind of take the comments that I got, some of them that had a little bit more heat on them, head on and actually address, you know, okay, here's what I actually think. Here's why I think this price is unsurprising from LEGO. And then, of course, at the end here, I actually say, you know, I don't think it's a great set for the money. It's not the Death Star that I wanted. I personally would rather have had I don't even know how much LEGO would charge for it, but like the 2005 Death Star 2, I would have rather just have had a modern, updated version of that set, and then it not be anywhere near $1,000. I personally would rather have had that even than what we got. But for what we got, I do like the build. You know what? For that concept of a circular, like I've said, Death Star diorama, I do think LEGO, from what you can see, did a decent job of it. You know, I got to give them that credit because I think it is due. But in a lot of other areas, they don't deserve it, like the 327th Battle Pack. I don't think they deserve it at all, and I tore it to shreds in my review. So I hope this video makes sense because I wanted just to speak to you guys, address some of those comments, and just get in on the debate a bit more because it's also fun to me to talk about these things. And if we differ in opinion, that's totally fine. I don't expect everyone to share the same opinion. I'm trying to back up why I think what I do and kind of at least make sure you guys know, hopefully, that I'm not selling out. I'm not, trying to shill or get the set for free or anything like that, because I feel like if you know the channel, know the videos that I make, I'm very critical, I feel like, when LEGO drops the ball, but I'm also very fair, and I do give them credit when they deserve it. But I'm not one to shy away from calling them out when I think something is not good or they could have done better, like I think I frequently do. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's different talking to you guys about this sort of stuff instead of just being a reviewer. I wanted to just be a reviewer with my channel, but as I get more involved maybe with the LEGO Star Wars community, start making more videos, the channel grows a bit more, I think it's worth just joining in on these discussions. And like I said, I would love to have a beer sometime with Ryan and actually just chat about LEGO Star Wars, being LEGO Star Wars YouTubers, getting, his insight on some things off channel and just his advice even for like growing a bigger YouTube page, and just thank him also for what he's done for the LEGO Star Wars community. So on the off chance Ryan ever sees any of my videos, we've talked a little bit through Instagram DMs, but would love to do that one day. I think that would be really awesome, or do like a podcast with him or something. But I just bring that up because I watched his video, like I said, and a lot of the points I thought he made were pretty in line with what I had said in my video. And I was like, well, people don't say that about Ryan, so why are they, saying, like, it's just, you guys get hopefully what I'm trying to say. But I do appreciate you all, whether or not you agree or disagree with the things that I said. And at the end of the day, we all just want better for LEGO Star Wars. We want them to actually be fairer to the fans, give us a better product, treat our clone troopers better, give them better designs, pay more attention to the source material, give us cooler sets. That's what we want, and I hope that is the direction that LEGO Star Wars is going. And even just based off the flack that they're getting in all of the reviews on the August 1st wave, I hope that LEGO is actually listening and there are some changes that are going to be made and that the future for all of us is brighter. So I hope this video kind of clears some of that up, gives you guys, a bit more of an understanding of my stance on things, maybe why I kind of had the candor and it was kind of, the vibe of the things I had said and the way I said it in that previous video. So I hope you guys kind of all understand. Thank you so much for watching. As always, my name is Justin, and I'll see you on the next LEGO Star Wars video on Obi-Wan Studios.